Okay, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. To the assembled devotees, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, we'll start our daily reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. The past 5-6 days, we had the good fortune of hearing from His Holiness Rampad Maharaj. So from stratosphere, we'll come back to our earthly realm. We are going to read from Canto 4, Chapter 2, text number 2 today. Before that, we'll offer our pranams. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandam Madhavam. So I will share my screen. Okay. So we just started a brand new canto, Canto 4. And a lot of Canto 4, Chapter 1 was genealogical order. And as Maharaj was saying, the genealogical order is presented in such detail because to impress upon the fact that we come from people and those people come from further people and all the way up to the Supreme Lord. And that source is also a personality, it's also a person. So Maharaj was saying that just, one way for us to know is this, excuse me, this personalism, that the Supreme Lord is a person, the Supreme Source, the absolute truth is a person. This genealogical order helps us understand that. And pretty much these two cantos, 4 and 5, it talks about this Sarga and Visarga, the two aspects of creation, which are two main topics of Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So that is covered in these couple of cantos. So before I read, I just wanted to show this organization of table is from my teacher, His Grace Bhayahari Prabhu. So he was saying that, Swayambhuva, Manu and Shatarupa, they had these 3 daughters and 2 sons. So pretty much if you look at the organization of Canto 4 and 5, it's their descendants. So we heard about Devahuti and Kardama in Canto number 3. All the way till the end of Canto 3 was Devahuti and Kapila Dev's teachings. Then the other daughter is Akuti, which was described in the first chapter. Prasuti is described also in the first chapter. Then what happens is Prasuti is one of the daughters. The last Prasuti and Daksha's daughter is Sati. So, we 13 of those daughters were given to, I forget the personality at the moment. Then, one of them, 14th, married Agni, and, she had the descendant Swaha was talked about. Then there is Swadha. So then the 16th is Sati. So the listener, Vidura, is asking, why aren't you describing the genealogical, like the descendants of Sati, because Sati immolated herself. Then Vidura is asking, if Sati is such a glorious personality, she's a chaste lady, and her husband, Lord Shiva, is such a glorious personality. What's happening? Why? I'd like to hear more about that. So that will be dealt in this chapter, the second chapter. And then, of course, Priyavrata and Uttanapada. So Dhruva Maharaj in Canto 4, later part of Canto 4, and then Priyavrata's descendants in fifth canto. So that's how this goes. So now we'll read. Sorry, I wanted to. Okay, here you go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 4.2.2. Kastam charachara gurum nirvairam shanta vigraham atmaramam katham dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. Kastam charachara gurum nirvairam shanta vigraham atmaramam katham dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. Kastam charachara gurum nirvairam shanta vigraham atmaramam katham dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. Synonyms: Kaha, who, Daksha; Tam, him, Lord Shiva; Chara, Achara, of the whole world, both animate and inanimate; Gurum, the spiritual master; Nirvairam, without enmity; Shanta Vigraham, having a peaceful personality; Atma Aramam, satisfied in himself; Katham, how; Dveshti, hates; Jagataha, of the universe; Daivatam, demigod; Mahat, the great. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire universe, entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied himself. He is the greatest amongst the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality? Lord Shiva is described here as Charachara Guru, the spiritual master of all animate and inanimate objects. He is sometimes known as Bhutanatha, which means the worshipable deity of the dull headed. Bhuta is also sometimes taken to indicate ghosts. Lord Shiva takes charge of reforming persons who are ghosts and demons, not to speak of others who are godly. Therefore, he is the spiritual master of everyone, both dull and demoniac, and the highly learned Vaishnavas. It is also stated, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. On one hand, he is a worshipable object of the dull demons, and on the other, he is the best of all Vaishnavas or devotees. And he has a sampradaya called Rudra Sampradaya. Even if he is an enemy or is sometimes angry, such a personality cannot be the object of envy. So, Vidura, in astonishment, asked why he was taken as such, especially by Daksha. Daksha is not an ordinary person. He is a Prajapati, in charge of fathering population, and all his daughters are highly elevated, especially Sati. The word Sati means the most chaste. Whenever there is a consideration of chastity, Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva and daughter of Daksha, is considered first. Vidura was therefore astonished. Daksha is such a great man, he thought, and he is the father of Sati, and Lord Shiva is the spiritual master of everyone. How then could there be possibly so much enmity between them that Sati, the most chaste goddess, could give up her body because of their quarrel? So, translation once again. Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest amongst the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality? So, Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Again, my humble obeisances to each one of you. So, the last few days, we heard about Lord Shiva from His Holiness Rompad Maharaj when he was visiting us. And, we also just recently celebrated Shivaratri, where Her Grace Urmila Mataji spoke as well. So, I am just going to offer some words of glorification for Lord Shiva. In fact, these last few days has been so meaningful to me, hearing about the personality of Lord Shiva. It's a mystery, right? Like his personality is mysterious. Um, just a side appreciation. We were also hearing Kaliya's pastime and glorification of Krishna by the wives of Kaliya. And in those prayers, we could hear so many so-called contradictory things that were spoken about Krishna. And so one of the realizations I had was that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is he is unfathomable by our intellect. We can't grasp him through our intellect. So his qualities are may seem contradictory to each other. They may seem to counter each other, right? So in the same lines, when I was looking at Lord Shiva, it seems like there is this contradictory nature, but actually it is not. And that the seemingly contradictory nature, in one sense, alludes to their greatness, alludes to their non Jiva like quality, right? In our, mm, binary processor mind, we see something as white and black, left and right, good and bad, zero and one. That's our binary nature. But great personalities, like Lord Shiva, we can't put them in a box and say this is the bounds of their greatness. They are unbounded. And so this meager attempt is is not going to be fully satisfactory. My second appreciation, the personal appreciation, is that growing up, I did not actually visit Lord Shiva's temples that much. So, because growing up, we went to only Lord Vishnu's temples. So I wasn't aware of his greatness. Till we read Srila Prabhupada's books, till I heard from Maharaj his position and how to approach him and how to properly honor him, right? Um, so Prabhupada talks about, so I wanted to bring up a conversation. This I saw in Krishna Kathamrita Bindu. It's a conversation between a devotee and Srila Prabhupada. So the conversation goes something like this. The devotee comes and tells Srila Prabhupada, there is this gentleman um, this is in Canada. So he's saying that there is this gentleman, he's an ardent worshipper of Lord Shiva. His wife is a chaste lady. I have given them Bhagavad Gita to read, and that person visits our temple. I've given him a canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's read your purports, and this person is very happy. Let me read from now on. So the devotee is saying, he has read in one of your purports that Krishna is more pleased when you worship his devotee than when you worship him directly. And Lord Shiva is a very great devotee of Krishna. So this man has now interpreted that to mean that if he worships Lord Shiva nicely, then actually he's pleasing Krishna. He is experiencing some difficulty because of this, and I'm not quite sure how to instruct him. So Prabhupada is saying, now, but if he accepts that Lord Shiva is a devotee of Krishna, then by worshipping Lord Shiva, he'll be benefited. If he thinks that Lord Shiva is independent, then he'll not be benefited. So now devotee is saying, I have got him to accept that Lord Shiva is a devotee of Krishna, but there is no practical instruction in his worldly activities coming. So Prabhupada says, no, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Amongst the Vaishnavas, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest Vaishnava. So we worship Lord Shiva as a Vaishnava. We give respect to Vaishnava. So why not Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva is a big Vaishnava. Generally, the devotees of Lord Shiva consider Lord Shiva is independently God. That is offensive. If you know that Lord Shiva is also a devotee, then you can give more respect to Lord Shiva. Krishna will be pleased. The devotee then goes on to say, but Srila Prabhupada, he does not chant Hare Krishna. He chants Om Shivaya Namaha. Prabhupada says, that's all right. Devotee, it's all right. Prabhupada says, he will gradually become a devotee. When God, Lord Shiva, will be pleased upon him, he will advise to worship Krishna. So then the devotee continues. He says, he's already trying to follow in your footsteps, Prabhupada. Just before I left, he said that he will try once again to chant the 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Japa. He has tried already. Prabhupada says, if he simply understands that Lord Shiva is a Vaishnava and if he worships Lord Shiva, then he will get benefit. So this is a room conversation in Chicago, 9 July 1975. So again, I wanted to impress upon the fact that, some of us growing up, we may have this conception or that conception. We may have worshipped him. We may not have worshipped him. So in all of those circumstances, Prabhupada is saying that is fine as long as this tattva is, the Vishnu tattva and Shiva tattva is clear in our heads, then we benefit by worshipping him. So, and again, another point from these last few days of our retreat is etiquette, right? Etiquette is so important. What is our etiquette when we go to a Shiva temple? How do we view him? What prayers do we offer him? It depends on what is the tattva, right? So, and why is this etiquette necessary? So that we offer proper respect and so that we are not insulting of them. Elsewhere, where I was reading, Prabhupada is saying if you offer prayers to Lord Shiva thinking he is the supreme, he is independent of Vishnu, then that's actually an insult. So, an etiquette is needed for our progress, for restoring, or for maintaining the balance, or for maintaining the order in society. So now that we have that, in this particular verse, 5 qualities of Lord Shiva are mentioned. Chara Achara Gurum. He is the spiritual master of all animate and inanimate objects. Again, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he talks about this, how he is spiritual master of ghosts. And we can see, right, Lord Shiva, if you look at him externally, he is quite unconventional. He doesn't have a home. There are the, we heard from Maharaj again how he resides in various realms, right? He is in the Smashana Ghat. He puts the ashes on his body from the Smashana Ghat. He has snakes around his body. His hair is matted. There is Ganga that's flowing. There is a moon sitting on his head. He's the Chandra Shekhara. So he has a form that's very unconventional. He's surrounded by ghosts and goblins. And he's worshipable. We may question that. So we can see that our Vedic philosophy does not leave anyone out. It's a very compassionate philosophy. We don't say if you do this, you go up to heaven. If you don't do that, you go to hell. It's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is very compassionate in nature, and Lord Shiva's nature is very compassionate, right? We hear he is known as Ashutosh, easily pleased and easily angered. So, what will happen to those people who are ghosts and goblins? They need to have a shelter, and Lord Shiva he's the spiritual master of those personality, of those people as well. So, Chara and Achara. Why are they called as Achara, like this inanimate? Because their consciousness is so dull. They're so removed from this civilized society. So, even for them, he's a guru. So, Chara. for the moving people. So we hear how he is, again, from this past weekend, we were hearing, he mercifully, now this is where I was telling you the contradictory nature of his personality. On the one hand, he is the guru of all ghosts and goblins and so-called uncivilized people. He's that. He is a spiritual master of, um, he has a sampradaya, Rudra sampradaya, right? And we hear Vishnu Swami is the founding member, or like we say, Lord Chaitanya's, Gaudiya Vaishnava comes from him. Ramanuja Sampradaya, we say like that. So Vishnu Swami is the founding guru of Vishnu, this Rudra Sampradaya. And recently, the most prominent guru is Vallabhacharya. So I'll read a little bit from Nectar of Devotion. So this process of devotional service is sometimes called as Pushti Marg. Pushti means nourishing and Marga means path. Such development of sentiment nourishes devotional service to the highest standard. Thus it is called as the path of nourishment or Pushti Marg. The Vallabha Sampradaya, which belongs to Vishnu Swami's sect of Vaishnava religion, worships Krishna in this Pushti Marg. Generally, devotees in Gujarat worship Bala Krishna under this heading of Pushti Marg. So Lord Shiva again has a sampradaya under him, and that is known as Rudra Sampradaya. We also hear, his incarnation, Shankaracharya, established what is known as, uh, sh- you know, this sampradaya, right? Like that Prabhupada often talks about, as monist philosophy, where Shankaracharya, propounded this monist philosophy. So Kevala Advaita. There is just one, and that one is Brahman, and that is the only supreme truth. Everything else is, when you are ignorant, you consider there is dualism. But when you remove the ignorance, there is just this one thing. And we see, why did he propound that? It is to maintain the purity of devotional service. Those souls which have that tendency, they will be swayed by Shankaracharya's Advaita philosophy. And only those people who are pure or who are inclined to purity will come towards bhakti. So, in that sense, Lord Shiva has this whole gamut covered. So, therefore, he is the Chara Achara Guru. Okay, I have 3 minutes to the hour, so let me quickly say this. The next quality that is talked about him is nirvairam, no enmity, not envious of anyone. Again, this topic was dealt with so extensively this past week, and Maharaj was saying that envy, when we have envy in our heart, there is no room for love. That is how insidious and dangerous envy is. Envy is seeing something as being separate from Krishna. Right? When we see, like for example, if I see somebody having a certain quality and I envy that person, meaning I wonder why they have that, why I don't have that, or why they are better than me, it is because we see them as being separate from Krishna. We see those qualities as being separate from Krishna, and therefore we envy them. But Lord Shiva is not like that. He's situated um, properly in his position, and so he's non-envious. And we heard recently this quote of Padma Purana. We can't mistake him to be as one of the jivas. So the jivas have, if Krishna has 64 qualities, Narayana 64 qualities in full, Narayana has 60 qualities in full. There are special personalities like Brahma, sometimes Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they have 55 qualities. And perfected devotees also have 55 qualities. Jivas, on the other hand, have 50 qualities, and that too in infinite quantity. So, Lord Shiva, you cannot equate him. We cannot talk about him in the same level as Jiva because, first of all, he has more qualities, he has them in copious amounts. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, elsewhere, I wrote it somewhere in my notes. Uh, Anyway, he has those in copious qualities. That's the word that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote it. So he is on another level. He's Shanta Vigraha. Again quickly, when in the Vritrasura pastime and King Chitraketu, the one of the ways he quote unquote glorifies Lord Shiva is that you have Bhavani on your lap. All these people are seated and you are not agitated. You're supremely peaceful. Atma Rama, he's self-satisfied. He's not greedy. He doesn't have a home. He doesn't have anything opulent. All he does is he's meditating on Lord Ramachandra and he's Atma Rama. Jagataha Mahatam Daivatam. He's the best of demigods. Again, I made a reference to the qualities, right? So he's the best amongst the demigods. So he has so many qualities that Vidura is wondering. Daksha is again not an ordinary personality. He is the son of Brahma and he's given this task of populating the universe. Daksha meaning expert, right? So Daksha Prajapati, he's a Prajapati. So he's an expert person. And why, when it seems like two people are so qualified, where did this clash come from? Again, when this recently we've been hearing this conversation. Two people, Prabhupada was telling two of these devotees, why are you two fighting? And I'm told that it comes in Burijan Prabhu's My Glorious Master, that then one of the devotees says, envy. And Prabhupada says, whoever expresses more envy will fall down. So we can see in this pastime, Lord Shiva was not the envious one. Daksha was the envious one, and he fell. And what a fall he had. So there's so much more to say, but I'll say this one thing. This actually was in a letter. Actually, Vaisheshika Prabhu had written this letter in book distribution group years ago. The highest bhajan, according to preeminent Vaishnava, Lord Shiva, is to perform austerity for the sake of alleviating the suffering of others. Lord Shiva says, it is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. This is considered as the highest method of worshipping the personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 8.7.44. And we can see, right, like Lord Shiva, Ashutosh, we said, and when the poison came in the churning of the ocean, he took it because he saw that those people, demigods and demons, were suffering. So he took it upon himself. That is the mood of Lord Shiva. He is compassionate. So, just this one quick thing, I wanted to say that we hear the name Shiva even come in Vishnu Sahasranama. So this is my last point. And that is because Bhakti in Baladev Vidyabhushan, in Siddhanta Ratnam, he says, it's a long thing that he's saying, but I'll just quickly read. He says, just like, like a king may have his palace and, he basically everything belongs to the king. So he keeps a palace to himself and gives residential quarters to all of his important ministers. Similarly, he's saying the Lord will keep certain names to himself, like Narayana for himself. But other names, he gives them to demigods because they are his subordinates. And Baladev Vidyabhushan, he quotes from Brahma Purana a further evidence. Chaturmukha Shatanando Brahmana Padma Bhur iti Ugro Bhasmadharo Nagnaha Kapaliti Shivasya cha Visheshanamani dadau Swakiyani api Keshavaha iti Swakiyani Rudra Virinchi Adini cha. Lord Keshava gave away these particular names, even though they are actually his own. He gave away the one with the four heads, the one with hundredfold bliss, the one born from a lotus to Brahma. And he gave the following names: the fierce one, the one who wears ashes, the naked one, the one with a skull to Shiva. Thus, his own names includes Rudra, Virinchi, etc. So I just wanted to bring that up because, I have wondered growing up, how come there is this, we hear, right, in Vishnu Sahasranama, we hear Sharva, Shiva, Shambhu, Rudra, they all come up in Vishnu Sahasranamam. So how do we understand that? And so we understand them because Vishnu, he ultimately is the owner of everything, including the names, and he gives them some away. And so in this particular class, to sum up, we hear these four, five qualities of Lord Shiva being mentioned. We discussed about how it may seemingly have contradictory qualities, but that is because of his compassionate nature. That is because of a nature that can't be put in a box and put away. He's not a personality that can be equated as jivas. He's way beyond that. And yeah, so on and so forth. So I think I'll pause here. We are 5 minutes past the hour. So if anyone has any comment, please do share them with me. Any corrections?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I was just, as you were talking about initially about visiting temples of Lord Shiva, our, the early stages of our bhakti, there's a lot of do's and don'ts, and, we very carefully guard against the don'ts.
Hmm.
And the recommendation of not visiting demigod temples is sometimes construed of that there is something inferior about the demigods,
Mm.
but the actual purport is it's for our own, because we are inferior, our
Hmm.
consciousness is not superior, we don't have the right sambandha gyan, we may end up looking at the demigods and praying to the demigods inappropriately, and it is for our protection that we've been recommended to not do so. and
Right.
and and so um, respect to demigods is paramount. And I think there was one Bhagavad Gita verse also that Guru Maharaj had shared, uh, where Krishna talks about demigods being respecting demigods as being respectful to him. um, and so I I was just reminded of the very first time that um, we went to Mayapur, and the driver was Durga Puja, and the driver was insistent that we stop by a Durga temple, and uh, yeah, we even before we could proceed on our journey to Mayapur from Calcutta airport, we were in a way forced to take darshan of Durga Devi, but it was a nice thing, and thankfully, we had our basics in the right place, and we were able to take the pray appropriately, and then proceed to Mayapur Dham. So anyway, I was just reminded of that, and
Yeah.
a lot of these restrictions. Sometimes because of our immaturity, we think that, oh, we are so superior, we shouldn't be going to that place because it's not an appropriate place for me. But it's the other way around. We are actually not qualified uh, enough to, and do not have the right someone again to appropriately respect the personality and those places. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. I just thought I'll share some of these thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember we went to the Kali temple, the famous Kali temple in Calcutta. And we felt very protected, and it was really a wonderful experience to be able to offer prayers in the right mood and, in the right consciousness. Again, this past weekend, we've been hearing so much about respect, right? Mana, dana, and offering respect. We heard about Bhakti Vinod Thakur in Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Even last night, we heard this hierarchy. Right, we offer respects to humans, right? We offer respects to those who are civilized, a king, a pandita, someone who has good qualities, someone who is of a higher varna, like a brahmana, someone who is in a higher ashrama, like a sannyasi, and then respect to devotion. So ultimate respect goes to bhakti, bhakti maryada, right? And so Lord Shiva is the best amongst the devotees. So what to speak of? Like you said, if the Sambandha Gyan is in order, then I think we are protected. We're here to stay. Any other thoughts? Actually, I had a reference here. I'm not able to find it unless uh, there, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Let me see if I can find that. He said it's in Krishna Kathamrita Bindu. That's where I saw it. He says how he went to South India and he went to Madurai Meenakshi temple, and the oh yeah, I think I found it. Madurai Meenakshi temple. They asked him, "Oh, great soul, you look like a Vaishnava. How come you are visiting us?" Then he goes to Shiva Kanchi, Kanchipuram, and there also the Shiva's followers they asked a question to him. No, Vaishnavas don't enter any of the Shiva temples. How come you're entering? Uh, and then, anyway, further on, he goes on, he talks about how Madhva followers view him. So, in our Sampradaya, for us, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, by his example, has shown that, he indeed, how he takes darshan and what is the appropriate mood. So, he writes that in this Krishna Kathamrita Bindu. I'll tell you which edition it is, issue number 542. So, there is this pastime. Okay. Any final comments? Okay, Hare Krishna. Again, please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari.